Welcome to All Villa, No Filler. Remember to subscribe to the show. Follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. As of recording, Douglas Luiz is close to joining Juventus, according to many media reports. It said he will join the Italian side for around £20 million or euros, with Juventus also sending midfielder Weston McKennie and 20-year-old left wing-back Samuel Iling-Jr. to Aston Villa in exchange. To find out more, I'm joined today by Lorenzo Bettoni. He's editor of Football Italia, a website for English-speaking fans of Italian football. Lorenzo, welcome back to the show. What is the latest on this deal?
Hello, Frankie. Hello, everyone. Basically, what you said, what you mentioned, all the sources, most sources here in Italy would say that it's very, very close to be completed. Samuel Iling-Jr., Weston McKennie joining Aston Villa in exchange for Douglas Luiz. Sky Sport is currently reporting that the Aston Villa request to come along with the deal was around 20 million euros. Juventus would want to push this a little bit down at around 18 million, but it can still be done between 18 and 20 million. So it is expected to be completed really, really soon between Juventus and Aston Villa. So it would be quite a big thing for Juventus because they're looking for at least a couple of central midfielders in this transfer session. And honestly, we're reading a few interesting things about Douglas Luiz. Watch a few videos. We're starting to, get to know the Brazilian a little more. So yeah, everyone seems pretty excited for his move to Juventus. At least it seems pretty close.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player. He's performed brilliantly for Aston Villa for 5 years now. He was one of the key players who kept us in the Premier League a few years ago and an absolutely integral player for us getting into the Champions League. So it is with a heavy heart that we see him potentially leave Aston Villa. It's still not confirmed yet, but it looks like it's happening. But two players will be coming to Aston Villa from Juventus as part of this deal, as you say, according to reports. Weston McKennie, he's first up, the US midfielder. He struggled at Leeds on loan a year and a half ago. But, seems to have revitalised his career at Juventus in the last year. How would you say his last year at Juve went?
Well, the first part was definitely better than the second part, I think. Second part, it was probably a little bit affected by the fact that contractors were not progressing as quickly as he would want. He was asking for a rise, which Juventus were not willing to give. And of course, when it comes to players having a contract expire in June 2025, then Juventus had to make a decision. And given that he would not send his contract, they decided to offer him around to a few clubs, and then eventually including in the deal with Aston Villa. On the pitch, he can be a very dynamic player. I think that he has a good stamina, he has a good work rate. He's a player who can cover many roles in midfield. He's been playing at Juventus in central midfield, and he's been playing on the right wing as well. He can be a box-to-box midfielder, I would say, but still doesn't have the top class quality that you would need in the final third. He's a very good addition to the squad. He's a very good midfielder. He ended the season with 10 assists for Juventus across all competitions. So he has that sort of eye. He has that sort of creativity that you would require from an attacking midfielder, but he didn't score any goal in 2023-24. So it was a little bit different from his first couple of seasons at Juventus, when we especially with Pirlo in his first season, a lot of late runs inside the box. It was a little bit different because probably he wasn't tactically as advanced in terms of knowledge of the game, but it was a little bit more. It felt a little bit more free to play. Even make some late runs, even when sometimes it wasn't required. But this sort of unpredictability helped him in the first couple of seasons at Juventus, because he scored quite a few goals, especially one against Barcelona, bicycle kick goal. I mean, not exactly bicycle kick goal, but it was a standing volley against Barcelona in Barcelona. I think that was his best goal at Juventus.
And is McKennie a very versatile player? Is he somebody who can function across a variety of roles in the team? Can he play as an attacking midfielder, but also as a mainly really as a central defensive midfielder? And I've even seen him play at right back as well. Is he somebody who can play in a lot of different positions?
Yeah, he can. He can actually play in a lot of different positions. As I said, it's quite. Um, I mean, the quality of the performance pretty much remains the same whether he plays on the right, when he plays in the middle. It's pretty consistent, I would say. Um, Sometimes he has lows that you can't really explain or you wouldn't really expect, but he's a player that, I mean, he's been proving some good qualities at Juventus. I still think that in a moment where Juventus were at that prime, like uh, like 5 or 6 years ago, McKennie would have been probably not a regular starter. It would have been the first replacement, the second reserve, I don't know, 13th or 14th player in the team. In this Juventus side, which has less quality, they had problems in midfield because Pogba was out for the whole season because of the doping thing. Fagioli was banned. So, due to lack of options as well, he was a regular starter. He played pretty much all games. Um, Again, some very good highs because 10 assists is not something that you can underestimate, but it should have scored, I think, at least a couple of goals that would have made his season look a little bit more different. But he's a player who can really adapt to different roles, to different positions, and it's someone then that he always had really much the very good a very good attitude. So he's one who would always run, who would always fight for the shirt, and this is one reason why Juventus fans liked him.
Yeah, and I do wonder because Aston Villa have Boubacar Kamara as our main central defensive midfielder, but he got a knee ACL injury back in February. So I wonder if Weston McKennie might come in and actually function in that CDM role as a more defensive midfielder. Because is he? Because something you could criticise Villa for, I guess, is that sometimes we look a little bit like we lack physicality at times. Is he a physical presence in midfield? Does he win balls aerially? Is he someone who sort of disrupts the opposition as well?
I still think he gives like I wouldn't use probably McKennie as a central defensive midfielder
Okay.
alone. Like if he plays with another central midfielder close to him, that maybe he can do that sort of job. But like I wouldn't use him alone as a deep line playmaker or just as a defensive midfielder to win back the ball because he still doesn't have, I think, that sense of position and that high physicality. He is a good physical player. He's a decent box to box midfielder, but he's not a player who you would, put in front of the defense and that he's going to keep the team balanced. He
Okay.
still has this desire to run forward sometimes, which I don't think would make him the best possible option for the defensive midfield role. But he's proved to be very, very versatile. As you said, he can play on the right. He actually learned to play as a I would say fifth midfielder, right wing back at Juventus. Sometimes he was actually playing because Juventus, were very defensive. So sometimes played as a right wing back meant play effectively as a pure right back, and they learned how to do that. So I think it's somebody who learns pretty quickly. So if he can he can learn how to play in that role, but is not what he's starting from, I think.
Okay, that's interesting. So he's a versatile. I can sort of see where he fit into Villa's team. Actually, I can picture him there basically. But the player we'll move on to as well is Samuel Iling-Jr. Now he's actually from Islington in London, as I've been checking out. So and he moved from Chelsea as a young player. Never played there, but he went to Juventus. There was a big fight for him between Bayern Munich, PSG, Juventus. He chose Juventus in the end, and he has, played quite a bit, for a young player for top teams like Juve in the last kind of year and a bit. How good is Iling-Jr., would you say?
I really like Iling-Jr. I mean, he's younger because he's 20. And despite being this young, he still got 27 appearances at Juventus, 1 goal, 2 assists. Uh, don't be deceived by the stats that seem poor, apparently, because 1 goal and 2 assists doesn't seem that much. We were talking before about Juventus being defensive, about playing with 3-5-2 and with these like the wide players, the two left and right midfielders, they were more often defensive midfielder rather than attacking wingers. So Iling-Jr. was playing on the left, and like McKennie, it was more common to see him play almost as a left back than as an attacking midfielder. As an attacking winger. When he does play as an attacking winger, I think the best position for him would be a left winger in 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 formation. Um, when he does play in the final third, I think he has the pace. I think he has the quality to really do something interesting. Then, of course, he's a young player. So, like with all the young players, you need patience. You need to accept that sometimes he will have highs and lows. You need to accept that sometimes he will play great games and some other times it'd be like nowhere to be seen. But I think this guy really has the quality. I really liked Samuel Iling-Jr. at Juventus, and I had the feeling that he wasn't used exactly for what he was meant to, because like this season he's never really played in his natural role.
Right, given he's just 20 as well, and the fact he made 24 Serie A appearances last season, are you surprised Juventus are letting him go as part of this deal?
Um, Not entirely, because he was in a similar situation as McKennie financially. So Juventus had a bit of issues in extending his contract,
Mhm.
which was also expiring in 2025. At the same time, um, Juventus and Aston Villa are in a similar situation. Juventus, they're not in danger of breaking the rules. They're not in the same, pressing situation as Aston Villa and other Premier League clubs. But at the same time, they do need to balance the books so badly. They need to um, let a few players out. They need to sell a few players, lower the wage bill, and they can't afford to give huge pay rise to all the players. So they need to select very well who can stay and who has to leave. For sure, I think that the quality of Iling-Jr. Would have been useful to Juventus, and I think the same for Soulé. I think the same for Dan Huijsen, who are all expected to leave as well. They're very interesting young players, very exciting. They've done really well in Serie A on loan this season, but they probably have to leave because of the same reason. Because um, Juventus need to sell somebody. They have a healthy and very strong owner, because the Agnelli family, the Elkan family, they're all wealthy. They're not in trouble. They're not having any issue, but they need to balance the club's book, and so they need to sell some of these players. It's a shame to see Iling-Jr. leave, to be fair, because I think he can really do something interesting. Because if he finds the right coach, if he finds somebody who really believes in his talent, who plays him in the right position, I think he can be fun. It can be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. From what I've seen of him and what I've read and studied about him, it sounds a little bit like he'd be a perfect Unai Emery project. I think Emery likes to work with players that he can mold into what he wants and coach and get the very best out of them. And so I'm quite, if he does turn up at Villa, Iling-Jr., I'm quite looking forward to seeing what Emery does with him. But just as a quick thing on him as well, like what would you say his main characteristics are? What do you think he really sticks out for, Iling-Jr.?
I think especially the dribbling skills. He's one of those players who, uh, in one-to-one situations, he can, especially when he has space. Uh, he's one of those players who can create numerical advantage on the wings. It's very exciting to watch. I would say a classic winger. Like you saw Zaniolo whole season. Zaniolo is much different because he doesn't have the same pace. He doesn't have the same. Um, I would say even dribbling skills that that Iling-Jr. has. You know, when we previewed Zaniolo, we said something. He was somewhere in between an attacking midfielder and a right winger, and somebody who cuts from the right into the middle of the pitch. Samuel Iling-Jr. is entirely different. He's one player who starts on the left and he wants to stay on the left and just run up and down on that side. And I think he's a classic winger. When you think about a classic winger with pace, with dribblings, with a good crossing skills, I think he's what we're talking about. And again, very young, so patience is needed, but he has the potential.
Okay, brilliant. Well, Lorenzo, thanks very, very much for coming on again. I've chatted to you once before, and I really enjoyed that as well. So I really enjoyed this. And for those who might want to read where we can find your work and all that, where can we find you?
Football Italia, all my articles are in there. Mine, those of my colleagues, and I'm Lorenzo Bettoni on social media.
And I can strongly recommend that. Thank you again, Lorenzo. It was great to speak to you.
Thank you.